From Tally to Cali.
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by
Vitamin Energy.
The vitamins.
The energy.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
It's Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy. Coming up on today's show, is it mandatory for FSU to play the way they did versus Bama to beat Miami this weekend? We go behind enemy lines with the folks from CaneSport for a full scout of the Canes. And is anyone on that field really going to be prepared for the electricity Doak will produce Saturday? Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com. The stuff clinically tested, clinically proven. First, world's only clinically tested, clinically proven energy shot that delivers all the goods. The goods being the vitamins and the energy. Nutrients, vitamins, enhance your mood, enhance your focus. Get your energy game stepped up with 260 milligrams of all natural caffeine. Nothing artificial about that. Steady absorption, steady energy throughout your day, synergistically formulated to deliver. VitaminEnergy.com. That promo code is warchantbogo. Warchant, B-O-G-O. Buy one, get one free. It's that easy. Tell a friend, spread the word. Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source. Won't you hit the thumbs up? Maybe leave a 5-star rating and review. We would appreciate that. Lots going on over at the ultimate Seminole sports source. The hurricane warning flags flying high above the Al Dunlap practice facility as we get ready for a big-time clash as number 3 Miami gets set to come to Tallahassee on Saturday, 7:30 p.m. Friday, though, happy hour, meet and greet, Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Corey Clark will be the guest of honor as always. He's here on the program as always. What's up, Corey?
What's up, Aslan? How are you, buddy?
I'm well. Thank you for asking.
Good.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you for answering.
I need to sit down and just like chew the fat with your wife. I need someone to vent to about weddings, planning weddings, how much everything costs for a wedding. It's crazy.
It's awesome.
It's crazy.
Awesome.
It's
But
extortion.
hey, it's a night. It's a day and night you'll never forget.
That's what they say. Do you remember what you had for dinner at your wedding?
No, I didn't eat much, which was part of the problem. We had the queso fountain, but I didn't partake like I wanted to. So yeah, that was part of the problem.
Yeah, taco bar was solid. It was solid. And
I liked what we had.
And then the Krispy Kreme donut cake that was incredible.
Yes, yeah. So but you got some stuff to live up to.
Yeah. All right, let's get to it then. I had this idea in my head, which I probably should have saved for the War Chant report. I think it would have probably been a good question to ask you and Ira, who will be guests on the War Chant report. By the way, real quick, are we good for live show Thursday, Big Dog?
I think so. Okay. That's the plan, buddy.
Okay.
That's the plan. We'll see how the hotel is in Fort Myers, but that should work.
But it just feels like, okay, I don't know. Like I was just driving around town yesterday, Corey, and I'm like, I don't know. I mean, it was a Monday, so like, don't be so dramatic, Aslan. But I'm like, I think if Florida State would have beat Virginia, the vibes would already be in the air. Like the electricity.
You would just feel it in your car?
Yeah, I think it would be percolating.
Okay.
But I'm like, that's probably a little too much.
Yeah, I think so.
So help me out with this, I guess, kind of. If Florida State plays the way they did against Alabama, how confident are you that they can beat Miami? And then if Florida State plays the way they did against Virginia, how confident are you that Florida State will beat Miami?
Well, if they play like they did against Alabama, I think they're going to beat Miami. If they play against Virginia, it's not out of the question because again, I don't know that Miami has an offense quite like this. I think Miami has better players. They'll have guys drafted higher. Carson Beck will be drafted higher than Chandler Morris, and I think they'll have a couple offensive linemen that go pretty high. But that Virginia offense, it was hard to stop, and Miami's might be hard to stop too. We'll see. But I just think what you can't do is turn the ball over. You can't lose the turnover battle and win this game. So I think that's one of the keys. But overall, man, I trust that this offense will put up some yards and points. I think it's the toughest offense Miami has faced. And I think, it's their first road game. So it's going to be the toughest environment the Miami offense has played in. It's not the best defense probably. In fact, it isn't. I think Florida's defense is better than Florida State's. But I think that it's going to be the tougher environment, right? Like,
for sure.
It's going to be hard. It's going to be a hard place to play. So can they handle it? They might. They might just handle it with flying colors. But I think if Florida State plays with the same energy and effort against Miami that they did against Alabama on defense, and there's no reason to think they won't, I think that they would win the game. But, you gotta play. Yeah, a couple of forced fumbles would help too.
I push back slightly. I do agree. I think Florida State could play very close to the way they played against Virginia and still possibly beat Miami. I just don't know if they play the way they did against Alabama. That kind of cinches up a win because I don't think Miami will cave and cower the way that Alabama did. But obviously that's the way you want to play. I think that is their standard. I think they will be able to get back to it. My concern is just how good is this Miami front seven, front four? We keep hearing about Ruben Bain, Akeem Mesidor. They're pressuring quarterbacks at a high clip. Statistically, traditional stats, Corey, they're 13th in total defense. They're tied for 8th in rushing defense. They're only allowing 76.3 yards per game. And they've played Notre Dame, they played South Florida, they played Florida, and Bethune. So, but again, I don't think, Jeremiah Love is more talented than anybody else Florida State has in the backfield, but I don't think their offensive scheme is nearly as effective as what Gus Malzahn's did. So that to me is that's the one thing I don't have a good feel for. Like I don't have a good feel for just how Miami's defensive line is going to translate into slowing down. I don't think you don't stop Florida State's offense this year. You try to slow them down, but I don't know how effective they'll be because they do have that pass rush element from guys like Bain and Mesidor, and Bain can play everywhere and do anything, but pass rush is not as much of a premium as like run stoppers. And I don't know if they really necessarily have that Miami. That's a tough thing for me to figure out.
Yeah, it's also such a unique offense to prepare for. Like, great, you have a couple edge rushers that are hard to block. Well, Florida State has a quarterback that it's really hard to tackle and can make plays with his legs. So it's like, okay, does that neutralize the rush a little bit? Probably. And when you're playing the zone read and those RPOs, they're going to read those defensive ends. And Castellanos, although he made some mistakes, as all quarterbacks do, he's pretty darn good at it. And so I think a traditional offense, Miami's defensive ends would really, really worry you. And they still worry you. They're really good players. Bain is a first-round pick. So that worries you. But when you have an offense like this, and you have a coordinator like this to go along with a quarterback like this, you feel a little bit better, right? I feel like it erases some of that edge that they might have because maybe you can't stay in front of Ruben Bain or the other kid. All right, but Tommy Castellanos can get around him or he can scoot up in the pocket and dart out. It also probably slows their rush. It changes the way they rush some. It's a hard one to handicap because we don't really know about this Miami team. We know they're good.
What don't we know? I mean, I don't know how they're.
I don't know. They haven't. I don't know how good the defense is because the best offense they played by far was a Notre Dame team that was starting a quarterback for the first time on the road. So
doesn't South Florida have a decent offense?
No, they have a decent team, but that quarterback he's a runner, but he's not a thrower. I mean, South Florida scored, I think, 1 touchdown against Florida. I don't think that's a great offense. I also think, again, it was South Florida coming off 2 straight games. Like they had a schedule that set up really nicely for them. Now, they did what they had to do. They won their games. But Notre Dame with a new quarterback. Then you got Bethune. Then you have South Florida coming off one of the biggest wins in school history on top of a big win the week before that, and they're probably physically drained. And then you get a Florida team that is reeling and not all that good and not a good offense. And even in that game, it's 13-7 in the fourth quarter, and Florida's got the ball at midfield.
Yeah.
And they let Notre Dame back in the game after jumping out to a big lead. So again, I think this Miami team is good. They're certainly not fraudulent, but they are absolutely beatable, and that's why the spread is what it is. Like nobody knows how exactly they're going to perform on the road. The thing that worries me the most about the game is how likely are you to stop them consistently. Because they will keep coming at you, and Beck will make plays. And even if you get up 17 points, Beck is going to make plays. He's got a good arm. He's going to make throws. He's got good guys to throw to. You just hope you take advantage of the mistakes he does make, because he will make a few. and you've got to capitalize on those. But again, I think that their defense trying to stop Florida State's offense, I think, is the matchup. And, how much better is their defense than Alabama's? Like, I don't know.
I think their front seven is significantly better, but I think Alabama's back end is significantly better than Miami's defense.
I would hesitate on significant on either one of those fronts, but they might be better. I think it's more degrees, but I'm pretty sure Alabama's got a pretty good front seven. They're not – I know they were missing one of their big-time players, so that certainly helped Florida State. But talent for talent, I don't think Miami has, like, world's better talent. They might be better coached. But, yeah, I think that when you look at this game – what you hope helps Florida State the most is that Miami is taking a pretty enormous leap, in my opinion, up in competition. I don't think Florida State is. I think Florida State has seen Florida State's seen a top 10 team already, gang, in that Alabama squad, beat them by 2 touchdowns. They've seen an offense that I think is at least on par with Miami's, and they didn't do well, so that doesn't fill you with a ton of hope. I'm talking about Virginia. But they've seen good offenses, and they've gone against good players. I don't think Miami's seen anything close to what this offense is if Castellanos is fully healthy, which there's no reason to think he isn't. I think that
there's people that think that he wasn't, Corey. They think that he wasn't running as well as he usually does.
Well, I don't disagree with that, and I think that with another week and 8 days to get ready for this game, and it is Miami, I think. Look, man, I think in a perfect world, Tommy Castellanos is 100% healthy. Or Thomas, I'm not sure what we're supposed to call him anymore.
Tommy, why are you going?
They said Tommy because when he's introduced in the starting lineup at Doak, it's Thomas.
No.
On the big board.
They got to
fix. Again, there's mixed messages.
Their problem. That's not us. We're doing what we're told.
We're doing the right thing. So Tommy, I think that play where he throws the interception on 1st and goal at the 5, I think he's keeping that all day if he's feeling like himself. You know what I mean? I just think he trusts that he's going to make a play. And at the end of the game, it didn't matter if he was banged up or not. He was still running, and he was still making plays. He maybe wasn't quite as explosive. He was still plenty explosive. And they just haven't seen anything like this. Now, he might have a horrible game. But Notre Dame started – what's that kid's name, Notre Dame starter, the quarterback?
Oh, C.J. Carr?
Yeah. The C.J. Carr in week 1 on the road in that stadium.
True freshman.
Is nothing like what that Miami defense is about to face. And I don't think Notre Dame has a receiver like Duce Robinson. Obviously, Florida State doesn't have a Jeremiah Love, but when you combine the Florida State rushing attack, it's pretty doggone good. And so, yeah, it's going to be a good matchup, man. That's why I'm excited for it. I think it's a really good matchup that can I think it can go either way. I literally have no way to I have no real prediction on this game because I don't know how it's going to go.
Yeah, line open at 7.5, currently sits at 4.5.
Yeah, man, that's a big number, 7.5.
That's crazy. I can't believe it was that large. We'll get an injury report in a few more days, but we've got some good reports coming from pre-practice observations, I guess we could call them, Corey. Guys like Roydell, Kevin Wynn seem to be equipped a little bit more in line with guys that are going to try to give it a go this week. But then Ashland Barker, maybe not as much. Those 3 guys, there's people that ask us about Roydell after the East Texas A&M game. Like, can you please ask about Roydell? Why is he not being used as much? Kevin Wynn, giving you another shot of arm in that defense up front, that could certainly help. Although, true freshman, that would be his first ever collegiate action. Yeah. But Barker, to me, out of those 3 guys, I mean, which one of those do you think could be the most impactful? Roydell helps you out with the run game, keep the ball out of Miami's hands. Kevin Wynn maybe slows down their run attack, which is obviously going to be huge bread and butter part of what they want to do. But meanwhile, Ashland Barker has accomplished more than those 2 guys have had this season. Which one of those do you want to keep your fingers crossed for the most that would be ready to go for Miami?
Yeah, I think Barker. I think he's a starter for a reason. I think he's a good player. He's proven to be a good player. You hope he's ready and available because Miami will test Florida State's secondary.
When did he leave?
I don't remember.
I don't even remember him.
I don't remember, quite honestly. I know Shaheem played a bunch in the second half.
Yeah.
And I guess it does help that you have somebody like Shaheem, not exactly a rookie, filling in for him. So maybe Shaheem steps up and has a really nice game. But Barker is a starter for a reason. But yeah, man, Jeff was talking about it on headlines. Kevin Wynn could be a big addition. The problem is it's just his first game. I do think he'll play, But that's a tough first game.
Fresh
man. That's
legs,
a really
though,
good
Corey.
offensive line.
Fresh legs, man.
Well, in bull strength, like you're gonna, they are gonna try to run at you. They're gonna try to emasculate you. They have a big offensive line. They have an offensive lineman as a head coach. They have 2 big running backs, and they are going to try to run it down your throat. They watched Virginia run for over 200 yards against you. Now, some of that was the quarterback. That Miami doesn't really have the luxury of that, but they are going to try to run at you. And Kevin Wynn, being one of the stronger guys on the team, according to Darrell Jackson, that's going to help. But it's also a true freshman making his first start, so you can't expect him to play 40 snaps. But he could definitely help you with 15 or 12 or 15. But, yeah, they're going to score points. They're going to run the ball on you a little bit. The 3-4 is susceptible to the run anyway. I also don't think you have great defensive linemen. I think you might have a really good one in Darrell Jackson. Everybody else, again, maybe solid. Maybe solid. And I'm thinking about this game in particular. Like, they're not – Miami's offensive line is better than your defensive line. That's an edge for the Hurricanes.
Right.
So you just hope that front seven can find a way to play with some just play really, really well. And if they play above their heads and they put them in 3rd and longs or 2nd and 12s, maybe Beck makes some mistakes.
Maybe this is the backer game, right? Like this is everyone keeps, pounding the drum about linebacker play, and I keep minimizing it. But, it's going to be tough to be, Juice Cryer or Stephon Thompson or Elijah Herring and know that you have to respect, obviously, the way they're going to run the game and shoot the gaps and things like that and trigger. But then also, Carson Beck's ability to throw off play action and things under the coverage up top is definitely going to kind of leave them a little bit, on roller skates in terms of trying to figure things out. So probably another cat and mouse aspect of this game to watch and try to figure out. We'll talk to Matt Shodell from CaneSport to get maybe some better insight on the entire Miami offense. In the interim, though, let's all get fed and fueled up over the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. Let's come on out Friday, hang out for the meet and greet at 5 p.m. And if we can't make it then, maybe you can make it out Thursday night, play some bingo, win some cash money, watch sports, Thursday night football, such on the TV screens, ice cold drinks, delicious food. If you can't make it in Doak Campbell, you're not alone. A lot of people want to be in that stadium, won't be able to get a ticket. Very hot ticket. Watch it at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill with your Nole brethren and sisterin. We did confirm again a few weeks ago that sisterin is a word. So that's what we do here on the program. Boost your vocabulary and boost your options for hanging out and being social. The Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, 2475 Appalachian Parkway, cptallybar.com, the website. How crazy is it going to be in there, Corey, on Friday, do you think, my friend?
Pretty crazy, buddy. Pretty crazy. And then Saturday before the game, Saturday after the game, when the Noles pick up the big dub. It's going to be a late night, but you can still get to Corner Pocket by midnight and celebrate for 2 hours until they kick you out. Because you're gonna feel like celebrating after the big dub. And there's no better place than CP.
Matt Shodell from CaneSport, talking Canes. Sorry, everybody. Right after this. Decisions. Power or speed, quality or quantity. How about both? How about all? You don't have to sacrifice anything when you choose Brunt Workwear. You're not only going to get durable, well-crafted, resilient workwear, but also really stylish choices that allow you to go ahead and pivot right from the job site to your kids' activities, running errands, or meeting up for drinks after work. And since Brunt Workwear is geared for you, the real worker, they know you've got no time to waste. You need those work boots to deliver once you get them in the mail and you lace them up. So enjoy the peace of mind of work boots and gear that are ready to go right out of the box. Got that broken and comfortable feeling day one to give you the comfort and security you want. Use the promo code WAKEUP. I'm going to say it one more time. Wake up. It's all one word. Over at bruntworkwear.com to save $10 off your order. I'm going to say the website again, everybody. You ready? bruntworkwear.com. Use that promo code to save $10 off your order. Welcome back in. It's Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy. VitaminEnergy.com. Promo code warchantbogo. Warchant, B-O-G-O. I should offer a box as a peace offering to our guy from CaneSport. Money Matt Shodell joining us here on the program. It's kind of become a little bit of a tradition here, man. We get you during the summer to talk about how the team looked in the preseason. Then we get you the week of the Florida State-Miami clash. So I appreciate you taking time out. How was the bye week for you and your Canes?
Money, Matt, you've been having too much vitamin energy. The week was very relaxing. It was a bye week. And as is tradition in Miami, because they're scared of the media, we had no availability at all last week, and then of course the normal availability this week. But yeah, I mean, all the signs are, according to Mario Cristobal, the team's healthy, which means wide receiver JoJo Trader, who's probably the most talented receiver on the roster, will be back hypothetically, because Mario said that the last 2 games also. Jordan Lyle, who's the most talented running back, also should be back, which Mario Cristobal also said the last 2 games would be the case, but they didn't. Neither of those guys played. But with off a bye, you got to think, and with this game coming up, you have to think if they can play, even with a prosthetic limb or something, that they'll be playing. I mean, how do you miss this game? So if they can go, they will go.
Let me ask you this, Matt. What in your mind, if anything, has changed when you look at this Miami-Florida State game? Because for me, even despite the loss that Florida State had against Virginia on Friday night, it doesn't really change my thought. This game had me very, very concerned, especially after week 1, even though the way Florida State looked against Alabama, to see the way that Miami, I thought, looked pretty good against a pretty good Notre Dame team. I know Notre Dame's got 2 losses, but I thought it was going to be 60 minutes, fourth quarter, stressful levels, probably like the most, the biggest game everybody on that field's ever going to play in their life up until this point, other than maybe Carson Beck, who'd been in an SEC championship game. But I just thought it was going to be 1 possession game, Friday, Saturday night, Doak Campbell Stadium. And I thought that, maybe I'm hoping Florida State would make that extra sort of play. I mean, has anything changed in your mind after watching Florida State and Virginia?
Yeah, I actually think it hurts Miami that Florida State lost to Virginia, because I'm a strong believer in mentality. And yeah, every Miami-Florida State game, of course, every player's going 100% every single rep. I mean, that's a given. But there's a big difference between, like, for instance, if you're at work, somebody's at work, I don't know, your people are mostly in Tallahassee. So let's say you work in the Capitol, right? And your boss says, hey, you need to get this done today, right? You have that urgency. Okay, my boss told me I got to get it done. I better get it done. But if your boss says, you better get this done or you're fired by the end of the day today, right? You're going to have a lot more urgency. And what happened to Florida State on Friday night is Florida State got fired. Because if they lose this game, they're going to have trouble making the playoffs, right? They have to run the table the rest of the way. 2 losses in the ACC, right? Miami has plenty of wiggle room. Miami hasn't lost a game, right? So right now, Miami's at that stage where, hey, get it to me by the end of the day. And Florida State's at the stage where, get it to me by the end of the day, you're fired. So I think the urgency level for Florida State is going to be so much more massive that Miami has to match that. Not that they can't, but they better damn well recognize it. So yeah, I think the Virginia game changed a lot, and not in a good way from Miami perspective. Okay. And how is this year's game different, which was your initial question, from any past games? I mean, it's not. You throw out the records. That's what they always say, right? Miami versus Florida State, throw out the records. It's its own entity. But this year, my opinion, I'm sure we'll get to this, is that the Florida State offense, and yeah, it was skewed by 700 plus yards against 2 really bad teams, but they still looked really good against Alabama, 380 something yards, right? 31 points, and Virginia, 500 something yards, 38 points. Like, this is a for real offense. Like, Gus Malzahn, I was looking at his film the other day of what he's been doing for their offense, and Miami's defense, I don't think is good enough to stop it. So, to win this game, Miami's going to have to put up probably, certainly over 31 points, in my opinion, which is the fewest Florida State scored all year.
Yeah, see, I don't know. I was maybe anticipating this to be like a 27-24 game just because of the level of physicality I think both sides are going to have. How much of this running identity for this, what Mario wants to be, this physical team, the gifts out there with him punching his hand and yelling pound, pound, pound. How much of that has really taken hold of this team? And looking at matchups, this feels very similar to maybe kind of Alabama and a lot of Florida State fans' eyes, right? You're going up against this vaunted offensive line. You're going up against a quarterback that's traditional pocket passer. Give him time. He'll be able to operate well. The difference, I think, is that Miami actually has a functional running game. I still don't think Alabama does, but just people on the Florida State side that might think this is kind of a favorable matchup for them on that side of things with the way that Miami looks versus what Alabama was. I mean, how much difference do you think there is between what Miami is right now versus what Alabama might have been week 1 for Florida State?
I still think, look, Alabama's a super talented team, right? They just beat Georgia. I mean, they're a real team. That's a massive win for Florida State on the resume, obviously. But you can't really compare Miami to Alabama. Like, they're just 2 different entities. But what is similar is what Mario Cristobal took from his time at Alabama, which is he has built his own team at Miami from the inside out, meaning he built it first in the trenches. The strength on both sides of the ball is the line. The offensive line is the biggest strength on offense, and the defensive line is the biggest strength on defense. If Florida State finds a way to win one of those two, if Gus Malzahn, which is my concern from my Miami perspective, can scheme up ways to mess with the eye discipline of Miami's defensive front, especially of middle linebacker Wesley Bissainthe, because as you look at film, what Malzahn really tries to do intentionally is to mess with the middle linebacker and keep him stationary, right? I mean, you see rep after rep where the middle linebacker doesn't even move after the play's dead. Like he's just standing there or has gone 1 yard by the time the play's over because he doesn't know what the hell, this guy's in motion. Now it's a snap. There's motion the other direction. There's an RPO to the running back. There's so much to look at that it's like a fan sitting at home watching their TV on the couch. Like the middle linebacker doesn't move. And if Wesley Bissainthe can diagnose and quickly respond to the offense, that will really help a dominant defensive line because I fully expect Malzahn to drop all sorts of things to negate the speed pass rush of probably the best end combination in the nation with Ruben Bain and Akeem Messidor. So if he can do that, and if they could win, if Florida State can win one of those two upfront battles, then this is one of those games that goes either way, And if Florida State, because I don't think Florida State's defensive line matches up with Miami's offensive line. Miami's offensive line is just really good, and their power run game is really good, and the way they scheme it up is just really good. I think the advantage could be for FSU, believe it or not, against Miami's defensive line, especially the interior defense, still not 100% proven to me for Miami. And you got two really powerful running backs at Florida State and a pretty physical interior offensive line. I mean, you guys rebuilt the line through the portal, and it looks like it's really shaping up well. So those are going to be the massive keys. Offensive line versus defensive line and vice versa, period.
All right, well, it sounds like you probably think it's going to be tougher for Miami to slow down Florida State's offense than it's going to be for maybe Miami's offense to generate some things. Correct. So what is it about the offense outside of this offensive line that everyone should really know about, right? I mean, they got James Brockmeyer as a transfer that I think was the start off at Texas, right? He's from Texas, went to Alabama.
Start off at Alabama. Yeah. And then transferred and he was at TCU. He was a all conference performer. But he's been really good at Miami. That's all that matters, right? He's been good at Miami.
Two really good guards. What is it? McCoy and Nez Cooper. And
Samson Okunlola is playing in there too. Yeah. Look, and Francis Mauigoa is a projected first-round draft pick at right tackle. Left tackle Markel Bell to me looks like an NFL level guy.
So Markel Bell's a left tackle, the 6'8" guy that just is really super raw. He's right. Out, I feel like. Yeah, the Markel Bell does have issues, believe it or not, with smaller, quicker defensive ends. But anybody that's not small and quick, he's going to manhandle. And I don't know if FSU wants to put a smaller, faster defensive end against him than what they already have, but I doubt they will. But yeah, this offensive line in the running game is the bread and butter of the offense. And then the key is for Carson Beck just to be a game manager. Where you see Carson Beck get into trouble at Alabama last year and at Miami this year is making bad rushed decisions, right? If his first read's not open, if his second read's not open, and there's a guy coming up in his face, he tends to throw the ball up and trust his receiver. And that's led to a few interceptions this year and a lot of interceptions last year for him. So I have a feeling, maybe he's going to take the sack, throw the ball away a little more than we've seen. I'm hoping he does because, this offense is good enough, right? They have the pieces, they have the weapons where they don't need to force anything, and his biggest problem is if you believe in Pro Football Focus grades, his Pro Football Focus grades are just awful when he's under pressure. But the good news is he's been kept clean in the pocket 85% of the time this year. And that's just a testament to Miami's offensive line. And again, if Florida State can somehow figure out what other teams have not and can get pressure on him more than 15% of the dropbacks, then that will cause problems for Miami's offense. But other than that, this is a team that can run well, throw well. The scheme is pretty similar to last year, but it's, last year it was the number one offense in the country, right? It's not that this year because there's no Cam Ward. They lost a lot of pieces off that offense, but it's still a very good offense. Yeah, I mean, the thing with Carson Beck that I find interesting is, everyone's like, just get in his face, pressure him, and he'll fold. It's like, well, yeah, who doesn't make really bad decisions when you get in their face? But again, it's like, can you do that with only 4 guys? Because if you bring 5, you have to bring 6.
Yep.
Then, there's going to be a lot of one-on-one situations for Miami. And, JoJo Tretter, you talked about he might be the most talented wide receiver they have. I don't keep up with recruiting as much as I probably should, Matt. Did not know that Malachi Toney was like this huge potential, freshman All-American candidate. What has he provided is, even with Trader's return, do you still think, I don't want to say the offense goes through Tony because it goes through their offensive line and being able to run the ball, but in terms of the weaponry that Carson Beck has, does it kind of start with Malachi Tony?
Yeah, so Miami's a very, under Shannon Dawson, Miami's a very center-focused team. In other words, they'll take some shots down the sidelines, but most of the passing game is going to be up the middle. Most of the runs are going to be up the middle. I think it's 74% or something like that. Runs are up the middle, not outside the guards. And that has benefited Malachi Tony, not to downplay what Malachi Tony is and has done, but this offense is perfect for him. He's a smaller, faster, quicker, gets open very fast, makes plays in space type of guy. Like, think for, I don't know if FSU fans remember Roscoe Parrish. He has to be like 90 years old, but he's a Roscoe Parrish type of guy, and he plays like a much older player. A lot of fans will say, "Oh, he's a true freshman playing in his first road game," because Miami's had 4 home games, right? No. First road game at FSU. I'm not worried about him. This guy doesn't care. Like, he's like an 80-year-old grandfather mentally. He's already there. He doesn't care. He's just going to get the job done. He's going to have his 3 bowel movements a day, his prune juice in the morning, and be just fine. So there's no concerns with him on the road in his first game as a true freshman, and he will be making plays against Florida State, and they better damn well scheme him up because, he's honestly the number one weapon right now in the passing game.
Did you see that coming? Did you hear?
Yeah. We were saying it all. We were saying it all practices since we've been seeing him. Yeah. I mean, he just shines. It's just obvious. I mean, you can't cover the guy one-on-one. You just can't. And he's got a knack for sitting down in space. He's not Xavier Restrepo-like yet in terms of finding the hole in the zone and sitting down in it, but he's close enough. He presents massive, massive problems for any defense.
Is Jordan Lyle your guy's best running back?
Yeah, physically, talent-wise, yes. He, like last year, Frank Gore, we're not comparing him to Frank Gore's career, but Frank Gore is a true freshman, okay? He averaged like 7-something yards a carry. He had like 500 yards as a backup. Like, that's sort of how Jordan Lyle was last year. Like, he looked like that first-year Frank Gore type player where he's just like fast to the hole, explosive to the hole, power, speed. He had it all. He has it all. But we haven't seen it this year because he got hurt in the first game and he hasn't come back since. He actually started the first game over Mark Fletcher, who has started games the last 2 years, right? And Mark Fletcher has a tremendous track record of success. So that shows you what Miami thinks they have in Jordan Lyle when he was their opening game starter, in year 2 over the guy who'd started games the prior 2 years behind Henry Patterson and behind Damian Martinez. But the point's taken, right? That's how good this guy is. So, yeah, I mean, if Jordan Lyle's back, he's going to have a massive role, I would think. If he's 100%, he should be getting the ball 15-plus times, I would think, in the game, including the receiving game.
All right. Let's go over to defense, and we kind of touched upon it. I was going to try to bring the tweet up, but I guess Ruben Bain deleted his tweet from over the weekend where he said, "Y'all next," which, listen, I'll be consistent. Like I did not like when Tommy said what he said about Alabama, but it turned out to be prophetic. And I would think if I was a Miami fan and I'm like, why? Like, why try to rile them up any more than you would have to? But obviously he took it down, and there's great respect that Mike Norvell has for Ruben Bain's game. But just Bain and Mesidor, are they playing at the level you guys expected, that the coaches told you they would be playing at, or is it even maybe better than what you guys heard about and saw in the preseason?
Well, probably y'all next. He meant he was going to Prime 112 for dinner next. Wasn't talking about FSU.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm just kidding. Look, he has a notebook, okay? After the Notre Dame game, he put on Instagram Live, and someone screenshotted his notebook where he just wrote F Notre Dame over and over again in every single direction on his school notebook. I don't know if the professor gave him an A or an A+. I would give him an A+ for that, but for originality. I assume it was creative writing. But so y'all next that's nothing for Ruben Bain. I mean, come on. I mean, Clinton Portis, by the way, used to predict how many yards he'd have rushing against Florida State. I mean, all this stuff's overblown about, it's going to make them play much harder. I mean, I don't believe that. I believe a loss to Virginia will make them play a lot harder because their back's up against the wall. But some player saying y'all next, that's nonsense. Anyway, what was the other part of your question? I have a very short attention span.
Just Bain and Mesidor, like their production, the way they've played,
right.
Like was this to be expected, or is it even maybe a little bit better than what you guys had heard?
Yeah, so people didn't see it coming that don't know Miami, because what happened was Mesidor had a massive foot injury that he was still coming back from last year, and then they played him out of position early in the year at defensive tackle because his explosion wasn't quite there. He had to have special shoes made. Ruben Bain was hurt in the very first game last year against Florida, missed 4 or 5 games, and then was never the same after that. Now they're healthy. And 2 years ago, you saw what Akeem Messidor could do, and you saw what Ruben Bing could do as a freshman, right? And now both those guys are not just playing at that level, but playing at a better level, right? Because they're older, they've been getting bigger, faster, stronger, and now they're working in tandem, healthy together, coming off the positions they want to play, which is defensive ends. They're two very large defensive ends, right? Baines, 275. Messidor had to lose weight just to play end and not be moved back to play tackle a lot. So these are guys that can set the edge, but also have the explosion and speed to get after the quarterback and make plays in the backfield against running backs, which is exactly what you want. They're NFL level, physical style defensive ends. And again, what I said earlier is Miami's defensive tackles have played well so far. But then I watch film of FSU's running backs and the way that you guys run the ball when you actually do run the ball without a quarterback scramble, which is, I guess, not that often. But that physical style running game up the middle, where you're not even doing any pulling guards or anything like that. Like you're just blocking mano a mano, and you give the ball to one of those two backs, and they just put their head down and bulldoze people, with tush pushes once in a while, helping out. Like that could cause some problems for Miami. And I hope the FSU coaches aren't watching this, okay? I'm not trying to give away any secrets. I think they already know that that's an area that's a concern for Miami. That was an area coming into the season that Miami wasn't sure what it had at defensive tackle. I'm not sure a team has tested Miami at defensive tackle to the extent that these two running backs and this offensive line, this rebuilt offensive line, can do on Saturday night.
I mean, Jeremiah Love's probably a little bit better than what Florida State has.
Well,
but
Jeremiah Love carried. He had the ball 10 times the whole game. I know the Notre Dame play calling in that game and how poorly their quarterback played compared to how he's played since. I mean, there was open receivers against Miami. Like we were in the press box and we're like, that guy was open, and Carr was awful. Like, I don't know why. I don't think that Corey Heatherman drew it up to leave receivers open and have the quarterback miss them. But I think Miami was fortunate that was their first game because Carr settled in. And I'm not going to sit here and lie and just say, oh, yeah, Miami's secondary was amazing in that game and was on everybody and nobody was ever open the whole game. Like, their quarterback played terrible. And the USF quarterback played terrible. And now they're going to try to make Tommy Castellanos play terrible. Well, let's see what happens.
Yeah, again, we'll figure out who gets credit for what, right? Like, was Ty Simpson just not a very confident quarterback in week one, or did Florida State really make his life miserable? And,
right.
CJ Carr, obviously, things like that. What about the secondary, though? I know interior of the line, David Blaze, the guy they brought in from Louisiana Tech, Armando Blunt, Justin Scott. These are guys that are like really highly touted. So I guess they're all kind of in that same bucket. But on the back end, I know Florida State doesn't have like this, they're not air raid offense when it comes to, running four go routes and things like that. But, Duce Robinson's proven to be, I want to say like an elite wide receiver, or at least in the all conference first team level in the ACC. Squirrel White's a guy that's been playing a lot of football, has been highly productive. They're going to get Randy Pittman involved. Just where is your confidence level in the secondary? And as much as they might have not seen an attack running the ball the way Florida State has, I mean, the weapons that Florida State has at receiver, I don't think has been anything close to on the schedule as what Miami's had to go through so far.
If I'm guessing, I think that Miami will leave a lot of one-on-one coverage. And if they're going to bracket, it's going to be on Duce Robinson because that guy is certainly special. But the reason I say that is because Miami's secondary, just like your offensive line and actually most of your team, has been rebuilt entirely through the portal. The only returning starter is O.J. Frederick at cornerback. And they have a physical, tall corner who's an NFL-level guy in Xavier Lucas. They've got
How's he been doing, by the way? Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, he's not. Look, when you don't hear a guy's name,
by the way, just so people know, I'm sorry. He's the kid from Wisconsin that went in the portal in Wisconsin, tried to sue for tampering and all that. He's a South Florida guy, and he's 6'2", so you figure like that'd be a good. How has he been playing?
He's playing fine. Has he been amazing? No, but he hasn't really been tested that much, which is a good thing, right? You don't want to hear an offensive lineman's name, and you don't want to hear a cornerback's name. Those are the two rules, right? And he's given up a couple of catches, but he's been on guys. He's physical. He's fast, good hips. Like, he's got everything you want in an NFL cornerback. He's really good. Still young, still developing a little bit in the second year, right? He didn't play that much at Wisconsin as a freshman, but extremely good. O.J. Frederick was an All-American as a freshman guy, and he's the other corner. They have a third corner. They have Keontae Scott, who was an Auburn Houston guy. Really good. He played cornerback last year and was awful at Auburn. But previous to that, he played nickel and was really good. And now he's back at nickel, and he looks great. He's really good against the run, good enough against the slot guys, and he's been a difference maker so far. And then they got two new safeties Zechariah Poyser from Jacksonville State and Jacoby Thomas from Tennessee, where he was a backup. And both those guys have surpassed my expectations. You never quite know what you have when you're getting a lower level guy who started once as a redshirt freshman, which is Poyser, and Thomas, who was beaten out for a starting job last year at Tennessee. So you're like, what do we have here? These are our only two safeties. The third safety right now is a true freshman, Marquise Fitzgerald. But both those guys have been playing really well. So the secondary has been a strength. I think the secondary will continue to be a strength. The question marks heading into the season were really defensive tackle and safety. And I think safeties answer the question more than defensive tackle so far, because defensive tackle hasn't truly been tested. So yeah, I really have no concerns in the secondary. I think we'll see a lot of one-on-one coverage that Miami can focus on bottling up the quarterback run game and the run game and make FSU beat them through the air, because I think the perception is that maybe that's the weaker point area. If FSU is going to beat you, to me, make them beat you through the air, right? Because the quarterback run and the intricacies in the run game that you guys are having right now, if you can slow that down or stop that, good luck.
It's Miami, Florida State, and both teams are really good. Both are really talented. Both are really physical. So we have to talk about probably kickers. Bert Auburn, not the guy. Yeah. Carter Davis has kind of filled the role there of place kicker. Jake Weinberg missed a field goal Friday night against Virginia that could have obviously helped out, but did bounce back and hit a field goal in overtime. Davis has been leaned on heavily, right? I think like that Notre Dame game, Florida, if I'm not mistaken, some people might say Mario played a little too conservative and played for field goals, and it worked out. Has Carter Davis given you guys a good bit of confidence coming off of, what Borregales gave you guys for so many years?
Well, Carter Davis is definitely great on kickoffs, right? And so far, he's been great on field goals, great range, and he's been hitting his kicks. He has not played on the road. He was 4 for 11 in his career at FAU before this season. He tried to transfer from FAU one year because FAU told him that he was still going to be a backup, and he went somewhere for the spring, and they told him he wasn't good enough, and he transferred back to FAU, right? Now he's Miami's starting kicker. He's a fifth-year senior. So I don't know. He's been great. But that's just the history of it, right? So from what I've seen in 4 games, I have no concerns. From what I saw in 4 years, I have grave concerns. So you guys do the rest of the math. I don't even know what to tell you on that one.
All right. It's a push, probably a kicker.
All right.
And then this is the last kind of question on the way out, Matt, but just, listen, the reputation that Mario has for, being a physical, run first, build it from the inside out, is well earned, well deserved. He also has a reputation of maybe not being the most confident, urgent, sharpest in-game decision maker. And this is going to be a game where, again, I don't know. I think with the way the line is set and the way these two teams are and just the way this rivalry has been, it's going to be a game that's going to come down to the fourth quarter. Again, he's done some things against Notre Dame and Florida that I think, commentators, people on Twitter, not that their opinion should matter that much, but, criticisms about, hey, why is he doing this? Why is he doing that? And it's worked out in Miami's favor. Has he proven anything to the fan base? Has he shown like a level of maturation or sharpening his chops, I guess, when it comes to making really important decisions in crucial situations in really big time games? Or is it still something that it's still touch and go, wait and see, and a little bit of anxiety if you're a Miami fan?
Yeah. Well, I hope there's a Florida State witness protection program because, you said he's not the sharpest in-game manager. I mean, there's shots fired. I'm sending him your address as we speak right now. I'm going to, hey, Mario.
Does he? I'm sure he's aware of this. Does he talk about it in a way to where you guys have a sense that he knows that people talk about him in this?
Of course, he knows it. It's all over Twitter every time he makes a dumb decision or a mistake. In retrospect, has he proven it to the fan base? No. This is something that's going to linger with him probably forever. I mean, he could literally win a national championship this year, and then next year make a bad time management decision, and fans will be like, "Here we go again." I don't, it is somewhat unfathomable how they are constantly calling timeouts in the first quarter and how they seem to mismanage the final minute of a half or a game sometimes, at a couple times in a season. He said he hired a timekeeper, manager, personnel guy from the NFL or something, but nobody can seem to find out his name or where he stands or sits in games. I'm thinking it's Mario's wife, maybe. I don't know. Maybe she's texting him what to do. I have no idea. Like the whole thing is a little, now I need to go into Florida State witness protection. Oh, you are? Oh, I thought you went to witness protection. I thought that's what you were doing right there. I thought you were hiding.
I'm still dog sitting my fiance's dog, and she's in the room. I just want to give her some attention. Dogs are awesome. I've never had a dog before. I still don't really have a dog, technically, still my fiance's, but I recommend everybody get a dog. Sorry, continue.
Okay, no, you're good. I mean, look, the simple answer is he hasn't really proven it to Miami fans, but what Miami fans do believe in with Mario is he's built the roster to an incredible amount after taking over essentially nothing, a few players that were really good from the Manny Diaz regime. I mean, he's recruited to a top level. Now he's stacking those classes on top of another. Like everyone at Miami can see it coming. He's doing what he does best, which is recruit and develop. And on top of that, he's finally hit the transfer portal massively this year. He struggled in that area the first 3 years. A lot of misses with the 85 scholarship limit. He was giving up 15, maybe 10 scholarship spots to guys that didn't need to be on the roster, that should have been recruits for the first 3 years. But this year, everything's looking right. 95% of the transfers are either starting or contributing big time. The guys he's recruited are coming through and playing really well, at least through this part of the season so far. So it's all looking up. So honestly, when you're better than everyone else, like if you make a bad clock decision at some point that maybe costs you 3 points, or you call a timeout you shouldn't have that you needed at the end of the first half, if you're beating everyone by 21 points, the fans aren't going to notice anymore, And I think that's the point Miami's finally getting to, where they're just better than everyone else that they're playing, so far. And maybe moving forward, Florida State and Louisville, those two games, if Miami wins both those games, even somewhat convincingly by a touchdown or more, this team then will be for real. And nobody, Mario doesn't want to say Miami's back. He doesn't want to use that. He doesn't want to compare them to these old time programs. But what he wants to do is create a program that is self-sustaining, that can compete for championships every single year. And that's what you can see. So for fans or FSU witness protection people like yourself who want to say, hey, but his clock management's still terrible, like you could say that. But the bigger picture is that this program is on a massive upswing that appears to be self-sustaining, not like you guys, right, where you're relying on the portal every single year right now, which I've been arguing for years Miami and other programs shouldn't do, because you had to work great 1 year, right, for you guys 2 years ago. Right. Sometimes it's going to work terrible when you get the wrong group last year. And this year it looks like you guys haven't hit it again big, right, with the portal. But again, you're not building consistently for the future, and I think Miami is. I don't want to take shots at FSU. I don't want to be on your hate list, but like that's just what I see. I'm not going to lie. I'm too old to start making stuff up and try to avoid making enemies.
I mean, there's a level of Florida State fans that'll agree with you. They don't want to say it out loud because you're a Miami guy. But yeah, I mean, listen, everybody wants to recruit really well, right? They want to get the 5 stars. They want to get those kids in the program for 3 years, so they're completely like sold out, bought into the program, and it's not just about
build the culture, right?
Yeah, so it's a real thing. I get it, but I don't know. I mean, I get to, you want to get to a point where you recruit so well almost that it's like you can't screw this up. I don't know if they might be there, but you still need to play really well against Florida State, and you're going to have to manage that game well, I think. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Mike Norvell, Mario Cristobal, if we want to call it that, chess match is going to go down. I lied. Last question on the way. Is there anything that we didn't talk about? Any players that I have not mentioned that you think Florida State fans should be aware of? Or alternatively, just...
Yeah. I mean, I think at the end of the day, if you circle back on Sunday and pretend you talked to me, I'm not going to talk to you again. This is it. I'm done. But if you did, and if I agreed to talk to you again, which I will not, I would say on Sunday, see what I said about Elijah Lofton, because I think he's finally getting healthy, and he is a massive playmaker that I don't think people understand how good he is. And I think he's going to be a big-time difference maker. He's the Jeremy Shockey that Florida State fans fear. Just nobody knows his name yet. So keep an eye on Elijah Lofton on Saturday night.
All right, that's Matt Shodell from CaneSport. They've been doing it for a long time over there, covering the Canes. Go check out their message board. You can interact with them.
Thank God. Thank God. Best thing that ever happened.
But you can see what they're talking about and take some screenshots in case they delete their smash.
No screenshots are allowed.
Matt Shodell from CaneSport, everybody. Matt, thank you, man.
Sure thing.
We now have a full month of data, everybody. We're primed to make the bold picks. So are you. Join Corey and myself over at Underdog Fantasy this season to win off the field and win big. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and more. Just make sure you pick a player for both teams in a given game and let your imagination or ambition take over. Also, Underdog affords the option to play responsibly. It allows you to play with as little as $1. Maybe you love college football, but maybe you've got a better feel for other sports. Well, all sports are available over at Underdog. UFC, soccer, tennis, Major League Baseball, and more. Download the app. It's Underdog Fantasy and sign up with promo code WARCHANT to score $50 in bonus funds when you play with your first $5. That's promo code WARCHANT. Underdog Fantasy Sports must be 18 or older, 19 or older in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 or older in Colorado for some games, 21 and older in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. We're back. It's Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com. warchantbogo, your promo code. Two quick things on the way out here, Corey. We'll have another show for you folks tomorrow, then the live show on Thursday, which will be your Friday show. We'll probably do the rest of the mailbag for tomorrow's program. But just some of the interviews that we had on Tuesday, Corey, where Duce Robinson, my gosh, I got to text Dominic and just be like, hey, man, like, good job raising an elite athlete / really competent, intelligent young man. I want to go like Robin Williams, Good Will Hunting, and go up there and hug him when he talked about that last throw and catch that was counted and then overturned, and the way he handled it. Then your question to him about the pass interference. Man, there's ways that you could be kind of passive aggressive or snarky or throw in a comment. And listen, I know that doesn't affect the outcome of the game, but it just, when you have a guy like that on your roster, man, it really makes you root that much harder for this team to hear him kind of take accountability, which he doesn't really need to, but I appreciate him, I guess, doing it. But super impressed with the way that Duce kind of handled some questions about the way the Virginia game worked and just his earnestness, his sincerity when he just talked about how important this game is to everybody on this roster. And he realized how important it is to everybody listening to this program pretty much. So just super impressed by Duce Robinson.
It just shows you, I think it shows you how confident he is in himself, that he's willing to accept blame and responsibility and take accountability. That's always the sign of maturity anyway. And I thought he's always great, but I thought he was great in those moments. I asked him about if he was surprised they overturned it, and he basically said, it doesn't matter, I should have caught it initially. Yeah. Then that's my bad, which he's right. But I love the fact that he's willing to take that blame, because he had a huge game. He had 9 for 147. But he also had like a 23-yard touchdown pass taken off the board. He had a 12-yard catch taken off the board because of an OPI that I don't think was maybe the right call, but we all understand why it was made. And more importantly, so does Duce. Yeah. He's like, look, I got both hands on him. And at the top of the route, I created separation by extending my arms. And so, yeah, he said it was probably the right call. And it certainly, to the referee in the naked eye that's seeing that, it looks like the right call. So he's got to learn to be better about that. And, yeah, I mean, I think guys like that are really good for a program. They're good for a locker room. You want your best players to be like that and be accountable, and I think that kid is. He's easy to root for. And you're right, Dominic did a great job with that kid. He has been a big-time player since he was like 16, but there's nothing about him that seems enabled or diva-like, like some receivers are. He just, man, I think he's a really good teammate, I think. I mean, I'm not a teammate of his, but he seems like one. And maybe more importantly, he's a big-time football player. And I think Miami and everybody else on the schedule, when they see that Florida State's like, I don't know, 7th in the country in rushing or whatever they are, and they're going to continue to run the ball because it's Gus Malzahn, it's Herb Hand, that he's going to get so much one-on-one coverage. And that's the scaring part of this offense. It's not just that they can run the ball. Let's make them throw. Well, if you make them throw, you're putting your cornerback out on an island with that dude. Mm-hmm. I think the next step in for this offense is to find the second guy. But right now, the one guy, the number one receiver, is legitimate. Mm-hmm. He is a real big time player, and he seems genuinely excited about that game on Saturday night. They all do when we talk to him.
Yeah. We broke it out as a YouTube short which is, YouTube's version of TikTok or whatever. But Yak, Coach Yak, David Johnson, he was the assistant coach that we got on Tuesday. We get Mike on Mondays, weekly press conference. Then we get an assistant coach and players on Tuesday. Wednesdays, we get Mike again and then some other players. But, I've said it before on the program, just that I thought this game, nothing's really changed my mind. I anticipated this being like an absolute kind of war. I know that's a weird sort of analogy metaphor that we're not really allowed to use sometimes, but Yak said it as well. So for this context, we can kind of get away with it. Just hear him say that, you asked him, I think, right? Like this is, these guys have played in some big games before, but they have not played, most of the guys on this roster, on the offensive side at least, have not played in this Florida State-Miami game. Like, are they going to be ready?
I don't think any of them have, right?
None of the starters.
Like any of the guys that are going to play,
No,
I don't think any of them have played Florida State-Miami game.
No, Richie Leonard's the only holdover on offense, and he was gone after week 2.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But him just kind of underscoring the fact that they know what's coming and what they need to do to respond, and just it is just going to be an absolute 60 minutes of hell. I mean, I really think it's going to be an absolute 60 minutes of hell, which also kind of makes me think this is almost a 2-for-1. Like, you beat Miami, you're probably good against Pitt. You lose to Miami, you feel that much more tenuous and nervous about Pitt. But just to have a guy like that, obviously, that's been in the program now for several years alongside Mike Norvell, like communicating to these guys, I just feel like that's the level of, I think they can relate to Yak. I think he can communicate that kind of thing well to where like it'll resonate with them, and they know it's not just hollow words. Like, this really will be something completely different than even Gunnar Hansen holding off Bama last year in Nashville,
All of it, man. Micah Pettis playing against Mississippi State. Man, this ain't close to that. Or Alabama. This is a different deal. And I genuinely, I'm really, really interested in how they handle the emotions of it, because the Alabama game was emotional, sure. It's not going to be like Saturday night. It's in my brain now. It's all these Friday night games. I feel like I'm covering a high school team. The Florida State-Miami game, there is going to be an energy to that thing, at least early, and we'll see how it goes when the game starts. But that crowd and that environment will be unlike anything these guys have played in. It's the truth. They don't know what's waiting for them, and you don't know until you get there. But it will be the biggest game, I would say, other than Carson Beck. It'll be the biggest game that any of the guys on either team have played in. And so there's some real emotion that you don't know if you're going to handle it until you're in it, and you can see if you can handle it. So that's what I'm really interested in on both sides. Like, yeah, man, Miami was a good team last year, but what was their big game last year? Like, what was there is nothing like a Florida State-Miami game when both teams are good. And it sure seems like both teams are good. It'd be awesome if they were undefeated. They're still good. And there's some real pressure there's real stakes. When they played, well, there's really nobody on the team from 2 years ago that's still playing for this Florida State football team. But even then, it was a Miami game at home, but they were playing a true freshman backup quarterback. Yeah. You played sloppily on offense because you kind of did the second half of the season, and it was kind of a slog. It was afternoon. A night game, 2 top 20 teams at Doak. Man, they have no idea how electric it's going to be, and who can calm their nerves the most. I don't even know if they want to calm their nerves. Who can just play focused and not just out of control? That's what I'm really interested in. But I can't wait for it, and it's so much fun to see which guys step up in moments like that, win or lose for either team. Which guys step up? I don't expect Beck to be rattled like by the moment. He might get rattled by your defense if you can get home. I'm saying he's not going to. He's played in bigger games than this, but he's played in SEC championship games where if they won, they got to go to the playoffs. So he's been around these big moments before, but none of these other guys have, including your quarterback, including, quite frankly, many of your coaching staff doesn't know what this is going to be like, man. Literally,
well,
like what
Gus,
Oh, sorry, yeah, but like Norvell, Tony White, like what's Nebraska's rival anymore?
Right. Syracuse.
Like, this is a rivalry game that is one of the rivalry games in the country.
And it absolutely matters. Absolutely matters.
100% to both fan bases. And the coaching staff that has stayed on board, that has been here for 6 years with Norvell, they've never been in a Miami game like this. You think about it. 2020, what was that score? 52-10 down there. Norvell had COVID. 2021, you beat them with Andrew Parchment But and then they fired their coach. That was 2 mediocre football teams. 2022, you go down there and you beat them like a drum. 23, they're with the backup quarterback. You're ranked high. They're not ranked at all. And then 2024, they have a Heisman runner-up, and they're on with their way to a choke job at the end of the year. But they're top 10. You're having your worst season in school history. These coaches don't know what it's going to feel like. They don't. They can pretend to know, but Norvell has never coached in a game like this. All his biggest games since he's been here, Florida, Miami, and Clemson, those games that he won against those rivals, it's when they were down. You've got a top 3 Miami team. Jimbo never faced this, so it's going to be it's going to.
2013, but they were fraudulent. That was a fraudulent.
And they also weren't taught. Yeah, they were. And they were 20-point favorites. He's never faced a top 3 Miami team coming in as a favorite.
Absolutely.
It's going to be electric, man. And it's going to be really fun to see which one of these guys, hopefully maybe a little Jalen Lucas. Free Jalen Lucas.
And Keziah Holmes?
Fine, but Keziah, it's crazy that Keziah didn't play after those 2 runs. But Keziah, Sawchuk, Cromaw, Roydell, sure, man, they're all kind of one guy. Yeah. I know they're different degrees, and we do think Cromaw is going to be awesome. But right now, as a freshman, I don't know that he's much better than Sawchuk or at all better than Sawchuk. I don't know that Sawchuk's better than Roydell or Keziah. Clearly, they hate Keziah. He's averaging 16 yards a carry. He doesn't play again.
Get him off. Pull off.
Yeah, but Jalen Lucas, man, I just think when you play defenses like this, that maybe you're not going to just be able to run it up the gut and power through with 6, 7, 9-yard gains, 12-yard gains, 15-yard gains. Guys like Jalen Lucas, Danzy obviously, but I want to see Jalen Lucas involved more. I don't know what's gone on there. He was one of the reasons you won the Alabama game. And he's been kind of missing in action for a month. But he is a guy that it's hard to prepare for. That speed and that quickness, you can't give him the ball 20 times. But I'd like him to get half of Cromaw's carries in a game like this. Let me just say that. I know they want to be a downhill team, and they want to body blow, and then hit you with a big play. I just think Jalen Lucas is a big play waiting to happen.
All right. There you go. Listen up, guys.
I did it.
Staff. Do what he says.
Yeah, Malzahn, what are you doing?
Come on,
I don't understand why he doesn't text me and ask me for suggestions. It's weird.
Figure it out, Gus.
I'm undefeated.
A little bit shorter today because we've done like hour and a half shows the last 2 days.
Yeah, that's on me. That's on me, everyone.
No,
I apologize.
Fine. Partition, space this stuff out. If you want more Florida State coverage, we got you covered all around the clock over at warchant.com. If you want to listen to 2 dudes talking about the Noles, you got Jeff Cameron and Tom Lang. They'll do it for 3 hours, 1 to 4 o'clock. Check them out on Warchant TV as well as 93.3 FM. We'll have, again, Coach Norvell and players later this morning. Check out warchant.com for all of that. He's Corey Amazon. Thank you for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com. Warchant BOGO, your promo code.